Being in the forefront of gaming for longer than most of us have been alive, Nintendo has had a lot of success inventing the wheel, reinventing the wheel, and if the wheel got too far ahead, throwing a gosh darn blue shell at it. In the years and years of creating video games out of what seems to be literally any conceivable thought, Nintendo has been behind some of the most creative and fun genres to date. High-speed kart racers, platform fighters, minigame-centric parties. Side note, being friends with Super Mario is probably worse than being drafted in the Hunger Games. It's no wonder why so many of these weird and creative genres end up on the top 50 most sold games of all time. But you know what doesn't end up on the top 50? Clones! You know the ones. Kind of shoddy knockoffs where other companies try to take the theoretical baton from Nintendo and end up falling flat on their face when they realize that the formula is a little bit more complicated than they may have thought. And I've played 27 of them. Some of them are great, some of them are awful, and some of them I will be having nightmares about for the rest of my life. So I've decided to make one massive video featuring all 27 Nintendo spin-off clones that I have played. And as an added bonus, I will be ranking all of them on a tier list so we can see which clone actually reigns supreme, and which one is factually the worst. I just want to give a massive shout out to today's sponsor, FlexiSpot. If you're a gamer like me, you probably spend a bunch of time hunched over on your PC, and the quality of your chair can make quite a difference. I've sat on some gutter balls that have made my lumbar feel like a dive bar, if you catch my drift. But with FlexiSpot's C7 Max and C7 Morpher, you can give your back and butt the love they deserve. Adjust it in any way you want. There's an adjustable headrest to keep your neck feeling good. Not only that, the entire backrest is adjustable too, allowing you to make it taller or smaller, which is good for me because I'm a big ass boy. There's a 5D armrest which you can move in any direction. You can move it up, down, left, right. Ooh, what was that? Just got an extra life. The lumbar support here is designed differently from the traditional styles, which only support one small part of your back. FlexiSpot holds you right. Feels like I'm being carried by a mesh angel. And the flexibility of this chair allows you to sit however the hell you want. Recline all the way back and play games on your phone. Or if you're shooting a video like me, go cross-legged in front of a green screen. You're probably gonna see this a lot here. But don't just take my word for it. They have a 30-day risk-free return policy if you just want to give it a shot. Their New Year's sale is here. You can enjoy an amazing 65% off discount on FlexiSpot products. And you can use my code YTE730 and get $30 off of the best price. Thank you, FlexiSpot, for supporting the content and carrying my back and butt. This is the tier list that we're going to be using throughout the entire video, so I'm going to explain the categories real quick. Number 1 is must play. These are games that you owe it to yourself to try out at least once before you die because they're great. Number 2 is pretty fun, which is kind of self-explanatory. They're pretty fun games, but you don't necessarily have to go look for them. I guess just try them out if you happen to walk by them. Number 3 is cousin slop, aka video games that you will never see in public or at any store, but for some reason your cousin owns them because their mom goes Christmas shopping in the nether. Next up is avoid, games that you should probably avoid even if you have a chance because they're not fun and quite bad. And finally, number 5, who made this? Cry emoji, cry emoji. I'm sure you understand what this means. Games that I can 100% tell the developers were just trying to make a bag on and go home. Let's get into it, starting with our most recommended title from our last Mario Kart clone video, the original Crash Team Racing. Oh, hold on, I gotta answer this. Hello? Crash Team Racing? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. It's no big deal. Okay. Okay, I love you. Bye. Well, my mom accidentally got Crash Tag Team Racing, so we're doing that one now. Crash Tag Team Racing is one of those games that's so hard to explain that I may have to use interpretive dance. Every every single bone, hair, cell, and sandwich in my body wants to love this game, because on paper, it's a fantastic experience. Though this is primarily a kart racer, Crash Tag Team Racing spent a lot of resources making a single player experience that's genuinely worth the time. Playing like a standard Crash Bandicoot title, the overworld hub is a platforming theme park full to the brim with personality, funny punchlines, Easter eggs, unlockables, enemies, and an animated story that just oozes effort. For example, there are a ton of ways that Crash Bandicoot can die, and whenever you discover a new one, you unlock the cutscene in the Die-O-Rama. Obviously, this world isn't big by today's standards, but for the year of 2005, it's pretty impressive. I mean, just look at how much stuff they put in the minimap. What is this, Elden Ring? No. No, it's not. Still, the single player mode is fantastic, and even though the game is kinda dated, I actually did burst out laughing from some of the dialogue and cutscenes.
Yes, my lord. Stop having fun.
What? But now we have to talk about the important part. The kart racing, which is very unique in its own right, but as we've seen before, uniqueness isn't always a good thing. The control scheme is relatively basic. You have your standard go, brake, drift, and throw power-up buttons. And a very welcome addition is this rear view mirror that just sits at the top of your screen. The drifting in this game isn't great, which is a massive turnoff for me because I'm a try-hard loser. But the game's big gimmick is what makes it so awkward. Whenever you press the top face button, you turn into this weird blue ghost. When in this form, you could bump into another car and you'll both merge into one vehicle, with one racer becoming the driver and the other racer becoming the gunner. And I'm not talking like Double Dash, where the gunner just kind of sits there and twiddles their hair while the racer does all the work. The gunner in this game actually gets a mounted gun that they could use to blast other players straight into the afterlife. I'm sure that you, my genius and beloved viewer, can already tell, but this mechanic is completely broken. I mean, there's practically no reason to not spam this. If you merge with someone who's ahead of you, you could just unmerge and it will give you a massive speed boost ahead of them. If you're in a merged vehicle as the gunner, you could just aim your character-specific weapon to murder other racers on the track, eliminating their chances of ever catching up. The only downside for the gunner is that your weapon does eventually run out of ammo, but I think if you just unmerge and remerge, it fills your magazine back up. You basically always have a become god button with little to no cooldown that turns this game from Mario Kart to Time Crisis on wheels. But even though this mechanic is insanely broken and very overpowered, I didn't play this with any friends, so I had an absolute blast abusing it in single player. There are 15 stages total in this game, which is one less than Double Dash, but unlike Double Dash, this game's stages are double ass. I can't even tell you a memorable moment from any of the stages that I played for this video, which has to be a bad sign, because either those stages sucked or I'm developing CTE. There's a decent amount of game modes, which include the standard racing and basic variations like time attack or breaking targets, while also including things like battle arenas, which is great because of this game's focus on combat, and also stunt mode, which I absolutely love because it feels like Tony Hawk's Pro Karter. When I played this game as a kid, I spent most of my time on stunt mode alone because doing flips is just really fun. Oh, and I don't know where to add this part, but when you press a button during the loading screen, it does this. As a kart racer, this game really falls flat on its face for trying so hard to be unique that it forgot to make the core mechanics any good. I played this game for hours, and the only base item that I could even remember, I think, is a chicken, which homes, I believe? Yeah, the items aren't great either. But as a single player video game, I actually really like it. It's such a fun time, and even today, the story mode is pretty impressive for what it is. So I'm gonna give this game 8 Wumpa Fruits out of 12. Dude, my pants are like flooding. Look like shit. Okay, I kind of want to put Crash Tag Team Racing in must play because the single player is so fun, but the racing is just kind of not good and severely unbalanced, and it doesn't feel as fun when you play with other people as well, so I guess we're gonna do pretty fun. Next up, we got Chocobo Racing GP. I've been super excited to try this game since I first saw it because just look at the cover. It's so cute. I'm sure the title theme is going to match the overall aesthetic. Before I get into the game itself, I want to talk about the real-life lore of this game because it's not great. Originally, this game was released with microtransactions for literally everything. There were characters, season passes, title themes, etc. But to make matters a little bit funnier, this game also came with an actual transaction because the full game was $50. Clearly, this turned away a lot of players because, as we all know, live service games are a plague on this earth. And as you can probably imagine, nobody fucking played it. Which eventually made the publishers go, ah, damn it. Okay, fine, you guys win. Here's the full $50 game that you paid for to begin with. Which obviously left a very sour taste in everyone's mouth. I'm not talking Skittles, I'm talking more like year-old milk. And now that we covered that awful bit of IRL lore, let's talk about the game itself. Because there's so much to unpack here. I have absolutely no clue how they expected this game to survive with a battle pass, daily login rewards, and heavy grinds for certain items. Because that shit was never gonna work out. The netcode is not great, as you can expect from a Nintendo Switch title, but the problem really lies in the overcomplicated ideas that they try to force onto the player. Every character has their own vehicles, their own stats, and their own special move, which are very clearly not made with balance in mind. We have stupid garbage moves like Cloud, who just hits the enemies in the area near him with his sword, and then Azura, who makes a tsunami and hits people with it while also getting a massive speed boost. Balance, baby. Each character also rides their own types of vehicles, like roller skates for the Chocobo or cars for the Moogle, which is pretty cute. And I do respect the devs for trying to make every single character unique, but when you do it in this way, it ends up making half the cast not worth playing, because unlike other kart racers that had unique abilities that you could roll into with the item blocks, this super ability you're forced to use a lot. Like, a lot. It especially sucks because since every character has specific vehicles, there can be characters that you prefer from a racing standpoint that end up being useless because their ultimate move kinda sucks. A minor thing that I also want to mention, which I understand can just be my bias shining through, is that getting hit in this game feels horrible. In Mario Kart, you kinda stumble a bit, shake your head, and you're ready for another concussion. In Chocobo Racing GP, you get hit. You sit there and you think about whether or not this is the right thing to be doing with your life. Imagine how things could have been if you didn't let that person leave while finding yourself. You take a deep sigh and realize that the only way to go is forward, and then slowly, you pick your speed back up and dive back in it. Now let's talk about the actual item system in this game, because it's so convoluted that you're gonna think I'm making it up as I go. I mean it. In fact, let's do something fun. We're gonna do a quiz after this, no rewinding. Your inventory has space for 3 magicites, which is what they call the items in this game. There are 11 types of magicites total. Instead of item boxes, there are 3 different kinds of eggs you can pick up while racing around the track. Copper eggs will give you a random magicite, silver eggs will give you a copy of a magicite that you already have, and golden eggs will give you 2 of the same random magicite. Each magicite has 3 different tiers, and they get stronger based on how many duplicates of the same magicite that you have. Of course, that means tier 3 is the strongest. So as you're driving around the track, you now have to think about which egg to get in order to get the empowered magicite that you're going for. Now keep in mind that bronze eggs and gold eggs both choose a magicite at random. So you can't go gold then bronze and expect to get a tier 3 magicite, and instead you have to go gold and 1 silver or bronze bronze and 2 silvers. And if you end up collecting eggs after you already have a tier 3 Magicite, then that means you can do an Ultima ability which every player can use once per game. This is not meant to be confused with the character's ultimate ability, which is an entire different thing. Now that you completely understand everything I said without being confused at all, again, no rewinding, I want you to answer these questions in the comment section. I want to see how you guys did. Because when I heard all this I felt like I was going crazy. So let's see how many of you guys fail the test. On paper, the idea is kind of cool, and having an extra layer of depth really creates scenarios where you're not just thinking about going fast, but also what items you're trying to level or just throw out to charge a different one. But I gotta get a little philosophical on that ass. In the words of the great Aristotle, why? I understand the need to keep progressing ideas and making things more convoluted. But the essence of kart racers and the reason why they're so fun to begin with is the randomness of it all. Once everyone can solve a meta and choose the OP characters and also choose which Magicites they should always be going for, the game becomes a lot less about just having fun and a lot more about knowledge checks and being good, which I'm not the biggest fan of, at least when it's done like this. They were very clearly trying to hyperfixate on depth to hopefully make a player base that they could milk for every penny they own, but now this game just kinda makes me feel like the board game friend. You know, the guy who brings a board game to just a regular night of hanging out and says, dude, trust me, it's gonna be so fun. And then he spends the next 2 hours explaining all of the rules so that everyone can know what the hell is happening. I mean, sure, if the squad is up for it and they want to commit the energy to learn this stuff so that they can somewhat have a good time, then cool. But chances are they're probably gonna ask you to pop in Mario Kart instead, which will always be a viable option because they're both Switch exclusives. And that is just so confusing to me. Chocobo, did you really think that you were gonna break into Big Daddy's house and take from Papa? Paired with the scumbag tactics behind the game's original release, the awful netcode, and the overall lack of balance to a game that tried so hard to make something deep, I'm gonna have to give this game 4.5 Phoenix Downs out of 12. Chocobo Racing GP is 100% cousin slop. I had to do some research to even find out this game existed. I don't know a single person in my real life who has played it, so it seems like the perfect game for a cousin to own whenever you come over. Next up, we got Mega Man Battle and Chase. This game was very interesting to me because for some reason, it never got a standalone release in North America. It was included as a bonus in the Mega Man X collection a lot of years later, but that's it. Now this game functions so much differently from any other kart racer I have ever played in my life. First off, every character has a primary move that they could use all the time. Mega Man, for example, has a Buster Shot that he can use to hit enemies, which also charges and can spin out opponents. Roll has a jump and a spin attack, and the list goes on. Everyone's car functions differently from one another. Mega Man is balanced, Roll is easier to control and gains a speed buff when behind opponents, Gutsman can drive off-road without losing speed, and it's honestly pretty deep overall. But you want to know how they turned this game into a Mega Man title? Well, that's easy. In the single player mode, you get to race other characters for parts of their car. And each part from each car has a unique property. You can race Gutsman and take his wheels, so now Mega Man can drive off-road without a speed penalty. You can take Roll's wing, and now you increase speed when you're behind other racers. And you can even race opponents at a higher difficulty to take more parts of their car. I know that nowadays it doesn't sound that impressive because just about every kart racer comes with customization already enabled, but this game came out in 1997, 4 months after Mario Kart 64. It's so cool for the time of its release, and it's a shame that we didn't get it in North America. The racing itself, though, is pretty basic. In order to get a power-up, you have to kill a certain amount of enemies on the track, but the power-ups kinda suck. They're basic speed-ups or banana-type drops on the track, alongside disabling your opponent's primary weapon for a few seconds, or getting a ×3, which makes your next power-up 3 times better. There is a versus mode in this game, game, but it really does seem like the entire experience was made for single player with the gimmick about stealing parts from other cars. This is also what makes it so confusing that even if you're playing single player, half of your screen is dedicated to cinematic shots of your opponent. Like, this is an enemy CPU. Why do I have to dedicate half of my screen's real estate to watch it bumble around the track? Maybe just put Netflix there instead, or some P-Hub for a high-speed goon sesh. It's fucking disgusting. The one thing I will give this game credit for is that every single stage seems to have a lot of thought put behind it. The Gutsman stage, for example, has a massive shortcut you can take over dirt, but only his tires can go off-road, meaning that overall knowledge of the stages will give you a higher chance for success. And much like every Mega Man game ever made, having the right parts for the job can make an otherwise very challenging stage a lot easier. Anyways, this game is serviceable, and for the time of release, it was innovative. But still, it was only released in the UK and Japan, so I'm gonna have to give it 5 UK flags out of 9? Mega Man Battle and Chase was a pretty cool game for the time, but as of right now, it's not that fun to play. It's very awkward and it just doesn't hold up in almost any way, so I'm gonna put it in avoid. Next up, we got Kirby's Air Ride. Look, I know I've already talked about this game in my funny game modes video, okay? But if you don't let me talk about Kirby's Air Ride again, I'm gonna do something I regret. Kirby's Air Ride is my most played kart/star racer ever. I spent an entire summer of my childhood going over to my friend David's house and playing this game from dawn till dusk. Here's why. This game comes with 3 modes, which all play dramatically different from one another. Top Ride functions primarily like a somewhat simplistic yet still pretty fun top-down racer, where up to 4 players can go around a themed track and try to scrape past each other using tight turns, power-ups, and stage hazards. It's very chaotic since every player in the entire map is practically on screen at all times, but you'll definitely get a kick out of it for a few hours before putting it down and starting to focus on one of the better game modes. Out of the 3, this one is clearly the worst, but that doesn't really mean that it's bad. The next mode is Air Ride, which is the standard kart racing mode of this game. There's only about 9 total racetracks, which sounds pretty low, but this game came out in 2003, if you couldn't tell. Though the character cast is pretty limited, the place this game's variety shines the most is the available vehicles. There are vehicles that are better in the air, vehicles that are better on the ground, vehicles that are amazing at straightaways but literally have to stop and turn, and this list goes on. The power-ups in this game are very well done, functionally changing how you have to play when they're equipped. Some of them are simpler, like the bomb, which goes further based on your timing on the button press, the plasma, which shoots a larger projectile by generating static via moving your control stick, and the tornado, which empowers your base spin ability that you always have available. Now, I'm about to confuse the shit out of you with this next thing that I'm about to say, but bear with me. Though this is one of my favorite kart racers of all time, the control scheme in this game is actual dog shit. I mean it when I say that this game controls way worse than any other game on this list. It's a very acquired taste, and even though I spent hundreds of hours playing this game, every time I play it, I feel like I just woke up from a coma and was forced to do the 100-meter dash. Basically, you have one button. I'm not joking, there is only one button you press the entire time you play this game, alongside your control stick. While racing, it charges your boost when held down. It's also a brake, so when you're charging your boost, you slow down or stop entirely. You can tap it near enemies to inhale their ability, or tap it while powered up to use the ability. With your control stick, you steer, but you can also flick it left and right to do a spin attack. When you're in the air, you can glide, but if you press your one button, it also instantly drops you down to the floor. You can also hold your stick backwards and press your one button to dismount your star, but that only works in one game mode, which we'll talk about soon. That's about it. Normally, when something is this oversimplified, it's supposed to come off as natural the second you pick it up. But that is not the case here at all. This game is so hard to control. And yes, it may sound miserable because it kind of is, but here's why it works so well. Due to the simplistic nature of this game's controls, the vehicles have to function way different from one another. Some of them turn worse, some of them fly really well while others can't fly at all, some of them have insane boosts while others can only turn while stopping. It may sound like a lot, and it actually is, but I think that's the fun of it. I absolutely love just how hard it is to control anything, and to constantly be in a state of panic figuring out how to maneuver your current situation. But being truthful, the racing in this game is just okay. The controls are okay, and everything I just mentioned is okay. None of this is enough to turn this game into an instant classic. But now it's time for us to talk about the main event. City Trial is my favorite multiplayer game mode ever made. I literally wrote an entire video on game modes just so that I can talk about how insane City Trial is. And you know what? I'ma talk about it again. In City Trial mode, all players are spawned randomly in a city. Your goal while in the city is to become as powerful as you can within the allotted time limit. You do so by breaking crates that fall from the sky, which can contain stat buffs and debuffs for literally every stat: speed, turning, weight, defense, offense, etc. These crates can also contain copy abilities, which you could use to bully other players on the map and break their stars so that they drop a bunch of stats. But there is a lot more. Different stars spawn randomly on the stage, so you can search around and find a vehicle that is more to your liking. There's also random events that occur throughout your match, which include UFOs appearing over the map, a dense fog covering the entire city, and a lot more. Once the time limit runs out, a random event occurs where you can put your stats and vehicles to the test against the other players. And these events can be anything. They can be battle arenas, fly-focused maps where you need to get distance or have accuracy in the air, drag races, normal races, and the list just goes on. The randomness just makes this game mode so exciting because you can be a Chad and spend all of your time getting a star that is just super fast on straightaways, and then you could luck out, get a drag race event, and smoke everyone on the track. But you can also be very unlucky and choose a hefty motorcycle trying to get ready for a battle arena, and womp womp idiot, it is a flying stage you have to compete in, and the stupid motorcycle can't fly. There's also these legendary ships that can only be assembled by collecting all of the pieces of Exodia, and if you're lucky enough to get the 3 pieces, you'll basically win any event. But when you're collecting the pieces, it tells the other players that you have them, which will make them try to chase you down and steal them from you. This game mode is just genuinely so fun, and I'm gonna talk about it every chance I get, so this won't be the last. City Trial is just a game mode that has to be experienced by everybody. Adults would love it, kids would love it. Hell, if the Grinch played this game mode, he probably wouldn't have done all that anti-Christmas shit. So I'm gonna have to give this game 15.5 stars out of 17. Kirby's Air Ride, obviously a must play. I know that there's a sequel to this game that has come out, and we're gonna make a video on that sequel specifically, alongside another game that is on this list, but for now, you get it, must play. First up, we got a game created by Mario's arch nemesis turned rugby teammate, the very infamous Sonic Shuffle. If you haven't heard of this game, there's 2 very good reasons why. Number 1, it came out on the Dreamcast. That console had a shorter lifespan than most houseflies. It in fact bombed so hard that you can't bring it into most airports. And of course, number 2, it sucked balls and ass. But let's be nice. Let's start with the pros before we get to the cons. It had a fully animated intro, which actually looked pretty amazing when this game came out. Now let's get to the cons. It kind of feels like the people who made this game heard about Mario Party through a prison phone and then tried to make it from scratch without ever being able to check the source material. I opted to play the single player story mode because I don't think there's a person within a 100-mile radius that I could pay to play this with me. Out of the massive starting roster that this game has to offer, offer, I chose Sonic because, duh, it's his game. As far as gameplay goes, this game stole enough from Mario Party to be a copy, but not enough to be a good one. For starters, you gotta use cards instead of a dice to move. Everyone gets their own hand, but everyone can choose to use anyone's card. The downside is that you can't see your opponent's card before yanking it, so you gotta just hope that you get a good one. But here's the punchline. The AI actually knows your hand the whole time. So it kind of feels like you're playing poker, except your hand is facing the table instead. It actually really sucks to have all of your best cards taken from you all the time, because guessing is a handicap for being human. But board game wise, believe it or not, it's also bad. They wanted to add fresh ideas, so in this game there's a lot of battling, which is basically fighting a monster on the board by choosing a card higher than its health. If you win, you get a bonus item that could help you or harm other players, and if you lose, nothing happens. The enemies are all classic Sonic characters like Hairy Surfer Bro, Crazy Alien Monster, and of course, Shark with ice skates. The battling idea is cute, but you're probably gonna spend 40 minutes a game watching these animations alone. And that Shark with ice skates stopped being funny 28 minutes ago. Huh? Okay, he's still cool. Instead of collecting stars, you're collecting precious stones, which you need to win. But you don't need coins or rings to get them, you just battle for it instead. Rings are basically useless except for the shop items, which don't do much anyway. Hilarious. But now let's focus on the most important part. The minigames. First off, the minigames don't happen every turn, which is one of the weirder choices this game made because that's the point of Mario Party. That's the party. You're supposed to relax and play a board game for a little bit and then pound a Four Loko and challenge your Italian uncle to a bumper ball game of death. In Sonic Shuffle, the minigames only happen when you land on a minigame space, which completely ruins the pace of the game. Sometimes there's no minigames for 4 turns straight and you have to awkwardly sit there and twiddle your thumbs. And then other times, 2 minigames happen in a row, which should be fun, but the rings don't matter, so who cares? As far as minigame selection goes, a lot of these are actually kind of cool, or at least that's what I would be saying if the input lag wasn't 16 minutes. I don't know what frame rate this game runs on, but I'm willing to bet I could count it on one hand. There's also a lot of blatant and just worse ripoffs of games Mario Party has already done, which really fits the overall theme of this video. Like, I know that too many cooks can spoil the broth, but the people who made this game weren't even chefs. They just kind of threw random shit in there. Hot Rope Hop is a classic Mario Party game. You have to jump over a rope that varies in speed until one person is left standing. So what if we took that formula, removed the shadows so depth perception is messed up, made the camera twist around all of the players, and then also made the jump rope swap sides randomly? Well, now you've ruined it. The rest of them control horribly, very clearly favor one side, or just lack overall depth, not making them worth your time. Now here's the best part. I played the story mode because I wanted to see what kind of story this game had to offer. But in doing so, I immediately remembered why I owned this game as a kid but never played it. Not only is the AI absolutely cracked and capable of cheating you out of all of your best cards, but after playing this level for a whopping 1 hour and 40 minutes, I ended up losing because Amy perfectly stole the card she needed to take the last precious stone and win. I laughed it off because who cares? The round was over and I could just progress in the story. But then this screen showed up. Game over. Try the stage again? Look, this took me nearly 2 hours, and now you're telling me that all that work was for nothing because the AI cheated. Sonic Shuffle, more like Sonic shut the fucking console off. Next, even though this game was quite bad, it was kind of expected and somewhat smart to make a Sonic the Hedgehog spin-off. I mean, he's Sonic, come on, who doesn't like Sonic, huh? Of course you're invited to the party, little guy, get in here! I'm gonna have to put Sonic Shuffle in. God, it's so weird. The single player completely cheating you is such a bad feeling, but realistically speaking, I think if you played this game with friends, you would have a pretty good time. So I'm gonna put it in Cousin Slop just because I did have a cousin that owned it. and it's my tier list.
Hey, let's blast through with Sonic. Oh, hello, yeah.
What the fuck is Shrek doing here? Shrek Super Party is as bare bones as it gets, which doesn't really matter if the bones are good, but these are not. There's a bigger roster than Sonic Shuffle, so congratulations to Shrek Super Party for reaching the bar, even though it's way down there. Even though it's a Shrek game, none of the characters are voice acted except for the announcer. And I don't just mean in the gameplay, I mean at all. It makes the intro scene just feel so off-putting. Ugh.
A misunderstood ogre, a beautiful princess, a lonely...
They also went for this weird chibi style, but they didn't really put effort into it. It just kind of looks like they took the head slider and bumped it by 800%. Hey guys, it's me, Scooch from Scooch Super Party. I hope you enjoy my game. Okay. It just feels like this game's developer, Mass Media, made this game and then found out they had the rights to Shrek 4 minutes before launch, so they swapped the assets. But it's the board game section that really confuses me. First off, there's no stars or precious stones that you have to collect. Instead, in this game, you're collecting the, hold on, let me read that. The precious drops of bug juice. Okay, these are in fact the only thing you're collecting, and can't really be used on anything either. There's only one board in this game that has a bunch of different realms in it, but since there's no big star to fight over, there's practically no reason to interact with one another, which is like the reason the board game exists in the first place. There's 5 different realms on the board, each with their own unique minigames and vibes, but since everyone has to play, it doesn't matter which one you go to. The only reason you go into these is to collect the precious bag of bonus, the bonus bag of precious bug drops at the end of them. Okay. This means that by design, everyone is going to split up and go for their own bag and then probably never see each other again. That's not a party. That's waving goodbye to your children when they move off to college. I'm surprised they don't play a sad anime OST. It all seems so unnecessary, like there's no rhyme or reason to any of it. What's the point of playing a board game if I can't even kiss my homies? Also, you think Sonic was getting cute by making you use a card instead of dice? Well, check this shit out. Yeah, I don't know what I'm looking at either. They added this weird match 3 mechanic as well. That's just so weird and cluttered and unnecessary. So after a minigame, the 2 top spots get to swap bugs around on a board, and the person who was first place goes last, meaning you could swap up to 3 bugs to get the best match of bugs for the round and therefore score the most points. Yeah, like, right? Just give me the points. Like, why do I gotta play this? Though it's not as bad as Sonic Shuffle, this game has a lot of moments that just don't matter. I think the board game section and the big head aesthetic was just to fool moms into buying this for their 5-year-olds when they saw it at a Target or something. They see this cover and go, oh, me and Jimmy saw Shrek together. This will be fun. I don't know how to do a mom voice. Maybe we don't keep that in. I'll let you decide. The mini games don't hold up at all either. They're all very basic, and since the characters don't speak at all, it ends up being this weird combination of goofy cartoon sound effects. But still, I played out the entire game because I was excited to see the ceremony at the end crowning a victor. But as expected, there's nothing. Oh, wait. What? There really is nothing at the end of it. The same screen that I've been looking at all game pops up again, only this time there's 2 lines of bonus text at the top. Wow, thank you, Shrek. That was a super party. Please get the fuck out of my house. Shrek Super Party is gonna have to go in who made this. It's not that fun, the minigames are ass, the board is confusing, and playing this game when no character has voice acting is still one of the most jarring things in the world, almost as if the entire game was made by AI. Okay, so like, is the door open? Pac-Man Fever is a game that I always wanted to play as a kid. I mean, sure, deep down in my heart, I knew it was gonna be a Mario Party clone. But just look at Pac-Man. You could tell him that his kid got hit by a car and he'd still show up grooving. And Pac-Man Fever came with a lovable cast of Pac-Man characters. We got Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Tiger, Astaroth, and Heihachi from Tekken. This game is probably the most straightforward of the bunch. The board game section is linear, where everyone is just trying to get to the end as fast as they can. There's different boards to choose from, but since they're all linear, I think it doesn't matter. Instead of a dice, your movement is based on how well you do in the mini games, which at least makes them worth something. There's no stars or objects in this one, except for the tokens which you can use at shops to help yourself or harm others. Again, just like Shrek, this board game section is completely unnecessary. There's almost no interactions with other players or the board itself because it's a straight shot to the end. Since the main goal is to just win mini games to move further, why not just remove the board section altogether? Like, there's just no reason for all of this. But do you want to know the most confusing part? When I was playing Pac-Man Fever, I kept getting the exact same 5 or 6 minigames. Thinking that I was just unlucky, I played again and got the same 5 or 6 minigames. But that's when I realized something so stupid. The minigames are locked to the board that you play. And since I only played the space board, I kept getting the 5 or 6 space minigames. This concept isn't bad if there's 100 minigames to choose from, but there isn't. So you're stuck repeating the same exact 5 or 6 basic minigames for however long you decided to be stuck in this layer of hell. This game has less minigames than Mario Party 1, which was on a 64 megabyte cartridge. How the fuck does a PS2 game with 4.7 gigabytes of space available on the disc have less minigames than Mario Party 1 by nearly half? Like it's so lazy and bad. Another massive peeve of mine is that there's no way to practice the minigames. So if you happen to be playing it for the first time, good luck, dumbass, because this AI is ruthless. AI? More like, ay, me duele. That joke sucks. It's almost as bad as the Shrek title, but I really can't tell which one of these two is worse. Like, who would even make Mass Media? Wait, so both of these games were made by the same dev team and released within a month of each other? Did the devs not get to eat? Was this made in a prison? Like, what the heck is even... I need a break. Pac-Man Fever is also unfortunately gonna go in who made this, but it is better than Shrek Super Party because I am a massive fan of Pac-Man. I think he's cool, but not that cool, I guess. Maybe I'll go on a cruise to get my mind off of things.
I'm dancing, bro!
Oh, please, no. Next up, we got Muppets Party Cruise. If you ever wondered what a Muppet Mario Party game would look like, I want you to go ahead and pat yourself on the back for being one of the 4 people on this planet that this game was made for. If I could explain this game in a single word, it would be excessive. There's so much happening every second of this game that after playing it, I almost felt like I just got out of a street fight. Instead of rolling a dice or picking a card, do you want to know how you move in this game? I'm so overwhelmed by this game. Gore. The pace of this game doesn't let up either. There are so many bells and whistles that you'll think you're at a bells and whistle store. Like, that's not even a joke. I believe that this game is loyal to the source material, but I'm not sure because I'm not 5 years old. The characters actually do speak in this one, and they're actually voiced by some of the voice actors in the movies. Do you hear that, bud? They got some of the official voice actors from the... What do you care? You still shit your pants. The board section in this one is robust. There's not really a map at all. You just kind of walk around a room, which I can do in real life. Your objective in this one is to collect 3 party favors of the same color in order to win. To collect party favors, you have to walk through colored doors to get a chance to win that specific color. It can either be through scoring the highest in a minigame or just an auction. Now, I know some of you may be asking, but Scooch, what's the difference between red, green, and blue party favors? The color dumbass. What? Needing 3 of the same type is such a weird gimmick, but it kinda works. You can re-enter already used doors to try and win party favors back from other players. And the fact that auctions exist mean you actually want to collect the boat credits wherever you can. You can also use your credits to start minigames with a higher score, which gives the rich players an unfair advantage. And like, we get it, Muppets Party Cruise, you're trying to be political. This game is just so cluttered. There's characters that spawn and then they don't explain it. There's a bunch of noises and graphics on screen at all times. Like, if I showed a picture of this game to an ancient civilization, they would either stone me or make me a god. The minigame selection, though, is actually a massive step up from the other games. Not all of them are great or innovative, but some of them are worth playing. And one of the features that I can't praise enough is the practice button, which is such a genius idea that allows you to try out the minigames first without the stakes. Crazy how this game came out in 2003 and is the first knockoff to add a practice button, which was in the original Mario Party from 1998. I'm shocked that I'm saying this, but Muppets Party Cruise is actually okay. I mean, I wouldn't choose it over Mario Party. This is more like getting a wedding invite from a distant cousin that you've only seen once in your life. You'll go, but you're not gonna dress up for it. At least these devs seem to care about their final product, unlike the assholes who made the other two. Who made the... Mass Media? Again? This team somehow created 3 full Mario Party clones in the span of 13 months. You thought Game Freak was bad at rehashing the same title? Crazy enough, Mass Media continued to make video game titles and even released a game in 2022. What else did these guys make? They made Saints Row 2? They made Darksiders? They made Saints Row 2. Muppets Party Cruise is gonna have to go in Cousin Slop. It's not that bad. In fact, it's better than these two for sure, but it is so weird and I still don't know what the hell is going on, even though I've played like 4 or 5 rounds of it. It's a very odd game, but still made with a lot of love and care. Next up, we have Cartoon Network Block Party. I want to review this game as fairly as I can because as far as I know, it's the first Mario Party type game to come out on a mobile console, the Game Boy Advance. And with that being said, this game is terrible. If Pac-Man Fever was bare bones, then this game is just the marrow. In order to win, all you need is a certain amount of trophies and cash. Trophies you get from winning first place in a minigame, and cash you get from the map and also minigames as well. Once you have what you need, you gotta walk back to start, and that's how you collect your dub. This game actually has different boards to choose from, all with branching paths. But again, it's all kind of useless because there's no stars, so there's nowhere you're really trying to go. But here's the weirdest choice about this game. It's not multiplayer. I mean, it is. You can take turns and play with other players on the same device, but all of the minigames are single player. That's not a party at all. That's solitary confinement. It's like one of the worst things you can get in prison. This format especially doesn't work on a mobile device because what are you supposed to do when it's your friend's turn? Awkwardly peer over his shoulder like a jealous girlfriend? It's just kinda awkward. And you'd think that the games being single player would mean that the devs could actually sit down and get real creative with them, but spoiler alert, they don't. And instead of making something great, all of these just feel so rushed and awful. For example, in this minigame, you have to run around a gym and collect as much cash as you can without getting hit by the weights. But in this minigame, you have to run around a dance floor and collect as much cash as you can while avoiding the dancing moles. It's just so insane to me that in the world of Mario Party ripoffs, this game managed to rip itself off. There's also some minigames that just don't have your character in it, like at all. Cartoon Network Block Party is probably, spoiler alert, gonna be at the bottom of everything. This game was so bad, and I know that it is limited because it was made on a Game Boy Advance, but my god, a Mario Party clone where you have to share the same Game Boy and you can't play multiplayer in any other way is just so stupid. I think the most annoying thing from this entire experience is knowing that the original Mario Party was so good. I mean, sure, some mini games needed work, and you would rip off so much skin from the palm of your hand that it would look like you're auditioning for Passion of the Christ, but as a whole package, this game was amazing and came out half a decade before most of these. The reason why that's such a problem is because all of these games were blatant rip-offs, but they didn't copy the things that matter. It's like they copied Mario's homework, but they were afraid of the teacher finding out, so they swapped up the answers and failed the test. I also played all of these by myself, which is depressing because this is the saddest genre to do that. At this point, I was just exhausted. The majority of these games were just broken, terrible, didn't work too well, and it just kind of felt like I was in a never-ending bootleg Mario Party match. And that's what I thought about it. Maybe the reason they all suck is because they're so old. Maybe I'm just looking too far into the past to play a Mario Party knockoff. And instead, I should try something that came out recently. So I did a bit of research and played the most recent Mario Party knockoff at the point of writing this video. For our final game, let's try out Garfield Lasagna Party. Lasagna. This game not only cost me $30, but apparently it's like Dark Souls 2. That's a sign. I don't know what it means, but it's there. It's also sitting at a whopping 50 reviews on Steam, leaning towards very positive, which is fact. As we all know, Steam reviews have never been wrong about anything ever. So let's try this sucker out. It came out in 2022. Surely C-tier Mario Party ripoffs learned something in 24 years, right? Right? The main menu is about as bland as a McDonald's Happy Meal. There's Lasagna Race, Lasagna Challenge, and Lasagna World Tour. Unfortunately, there's no Lasagna Dictionary, so I can't lasagna figure the fuck out what any of this means. The roster is exactly 4 characters big, which is always kind of a bad sign because it means they put the minimal amount of work they had to. But if that's not bad enough, none of the Garfield characters are voice acted at all. In fact, nothing is. There are no voices in this game. I don't even think Garfield is that popular these days. They couldn't find anybody that sounds like the Garfield characters. Odie is just a fucking dog. Find a dog. There's even a mini game with John in it, but all he does is gasp. I know it sounds like I'm being nitpicky, but this game cost me $30. I think I could pay for the voice acting in this game for $30. Now let's talk about the game. There's only one board here, which is already a major disappointment. As far as clones go, this one is the closest to Mario Party. You roll a dice to move, and there's a mini game at the end of every turn. There's even branching paths, but again, they don't mean anything because there's no star to chase around. The one thing this game does kind of get right are the items. They can be used to buff you or harm others during the roll phase of the turn. It's pretty neat, but it slows the game down to a crawl because you have to look at this 4 times per round. The mini games also control better than every other game on this list, but it doesn't matter because they're so basic. Like timing button inputs, or this music game that is literally over 2 minutes long. Did you guys not know how to cut down the royalty-free song you found? There are 32 minigames, which is less than the original Mario Party, only 4 characters to choose from, which is less than the original Mario Party, 1 board total, which is less than the original Mario Party, and the list goes on. There's not even a victory animation when you win. It's the same animation as when you win the minigames, only this time there's a curtain behind you. I very rarely use this word, but I think it perfectly defines what this game is. Garfield Lasagna Party is soulless. It was very clearly created to make a quick buck off of out-of-touch parents who don't know any better. There's nothing to unlock, no online play in 2022, and no real reason to keep playing this game except for the fact that it cost $30. Pummel Party, an actually good Mario Party clone, costs half of that. Did they really think they could get people to buy this game just because it's a Mario Party clone? What kind of stupid money-wasting moron would do that? Son of a bitch! Garfield Lasagna Party is actually gonna go in Cousin Slop. It is not a bad game per se, and it runs pretty well, but at the same time, it's just not worth playing. But let's start with Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3 Slime Speedway, because I never heard of it, and it only has 60 reviews on Steam, which is how much this game cost, so you probably never heard of it either. And at the time of this recording, it only came out 9 months ago. That's the spawn time of a human baby. Not knowing what to expect, I boot up the game, and initially I'm actually kind of impressed. There's actual voice acting, which is a lot to ask for these days. There's a decent amount of characters, customizable karts, 40 stages, and some pretty solid references. There is genuinely, how many levels is that? Like, this game looks fun, but it wasn't. As much as I genuinely want to like this game, it always feels like you're racing on grease. You fall through floors randomly, bumping into other cars just make you stop, and I'd have an easier time trying to drift in real life. I actually just got a check in the mail for being their first quality assurance tester since nobody did it before release, and would you look at that? It's less than $60. Didn't even get my money back. They also tried this weird assist gimmick, which I didn't really like. You basically get a free second item that you could use repeatedly and 2 passives to go with it. But it's just so broken. Like, one of them just turns all of your drifts into super drifts. One of them makes you boost when you take damage, so getting hit by items isn't bad at all. And there is a lot more. This is the exact opposite of what Mario Kart is supposed to be. Getting to choose your items and buffs destroy the random nature of the game because you use these way more than the actual pickups. There's also purple slime speedways, an orange slime mechanic that upgrades the item you're holding, and green slime that you need to replenish the use of your secondaries. All of it is just so complicated and just comes off as litter. It feels like a very pretty dish made by a very bad chef. They kind of got overzealous and in turn created a stinky piece of boo-boo garbage. But the most offensive part of this game isn't the low polish or bad controls. It's the absolutely terrible use of the source material. You guys got the rights to Nickelodeon, yet all of the stages are so lifeless. Like, remember that episode of SpongeBob when Mrs. Puff's boating school was located in the middle of a bunch of sandcastles and miscellaneous objects? Yeah, I don't either, cause that never happened. The stages are so random as well. They got certified hood classics like Ba Sing Se and Ghost Zone, alongside other historic Nickelodeon locations like the Arbuckle Farm and Hawaii. I don't remember Hawaii being a big part of Nickelodeon, unless there was a foot-sniffing convention hosted by Dan the Man himself. This game makes me feel like a baby looking at an action figure before being fed spinach, but one of those very bootleg action figures. Anyways, the game is ass. I give it 3 Nickelodeon feet out of 10. Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3, God, it's gonna go in pretty fun, unfortunately. It still controls pretty bad, and it's not great by most metrics, but for the most part, I personally enjoyed it just because they use so much of Nickelodeon, so I'll put it in pretty fun. Next up, we got Shrek Swamp Speedway. Never mind. Next up, we got Garfield Kart 2 Furious Racing. Wanna know a joke? This is the second game so far with Garfield in it. Wanna know another joke? After doing a bit of research for this video, it turns out that this is Garfield's 27th game. Like, who is asking for these? This game was actually made by Artifact Studios, which is the dev team behind such classics as The Dungeon of Naholbik, Agatha Christie, The ABC Murders, and of course, Brutus and Fool. Would you believe me if I told you that I made some of those up? Because I didn't.
You what?
I have very few choice words about this game. For one, it's definitely a video game. And secondly, it is a kart racer. And finally, Garfield is in it. This is the most not game I've ever played. There's no voice acting at all, which I guess is a trend for Garfield games. And secondly, none of it makes sense. I don't mean to piss off all the Garfield fans in the audience, but if it weren't for Garfield himself being on the cover of this game, it would be impossible to tell that he was in it at all. I get that the source material isn't really made for spawning creative landscapes, but these are just random assets. You know, I'm starting to believe all Garfield games weren't Garfield games at first. That makes sense. This stage is just a factory. There's nothing notable about it. But you want to know how they Garfielded it up? By putting a giant tomato logo on the containers. Get it? Because it's a lasagna factory. He likes lasagna. I actually think that Garfield's stages in Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3 were more loyal to Garfield's representation than Garfield's own game. The weirdest thing about this one, though, is that it has the exact opposite problem as the other game. Nickelodeon had so many things going in so many directions that they forgot to make the base game any good. Garfield, on the other hand, controls somewhat decently. It doesn't feel bad to play, it's just really empty. Like the devs remembered that they had to release this game at 5 p.m. but already blew all of their budget on strippers the night before. Don't believe me? This game only has 13 songs in it, and most of them are under 90 seconds long. I went and did the math, and there is only 15 minutes and 39 seconds worth of background music. Yeah, I'll take the award for the most calculated hater. Thank you very much. There is just no life in any square inch of this game. Like if this game did the Dragon Ball Fusion dance with Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3 and combined their best parts, the game wouldn't actually be bad. But no, instead of giving us a game with a whole ass, they just gave us two half-asses, leaving us with a pair of left cheeks. So I give it 2.2 Garfield Lasagna out of 7. Garfield Furious Racing is gonna go in Cousin Slop. I think I gotta reorganize these real quick. Garfield Lasagna Party goes below Party Cruise, and then Furious Racing goes at the bottom of Cousin Slop. It is so forgettable that I had to rewatch my video to even remember that this game existed, and then I had to rewatch the video again because I already forgot. Look, team, I don't expect a Garfield racing game to be any good. It's not Cyberpunk on release. I'm not getting baited and then disappointed when it sucks. I mean, it's Garfield. He could barely stand on 4 legs. I don't expect him to make a good game.
Come on, do something.
On top of that, children's TV has canonically had more racists than racers. So why don't we leave the racing games to the professionals? Like NASCAR Kart Racing. Now, this title is so strange that the only words I could use to describe it is NASCAR Kart Racing. One of the main reasons why Mario Kart is such a successful formula is because it allows the players to focus on the characters instead of the vehicles themselves. Because of this, Mario Kart games ooze personality because you're playing as Super Mario, not a Nissan Skyline. This allows the game to basically be an advertising billboard for the staples of the franchise, which is why so many companies try to replicate it with zany and wacky characters. But what if instead of having hilarious, over-the-top cartoon mascots, we use real-life humans that exist? Yeah, why would anyone want that? I feel like the target demographic for this game is anyone who's over the age of 40 who lost a bet to a time wizard and then had their consciousness sent back into the body of a 10-year-old boy. But look, NASCAR is a pretty big deal. I'm sure if they got some of these people to voice act themselves and say some of their famous NASCAR catchphrases, they could at least cash in on the franchise's popularity. Oh, they went with random grunts. You see, when Mario goes, wah, that's charming, that's fun, he's a cartoon. But when Elliot Sadler goes, it makes me want to call an ambulance because I think he's having a stroke. Gameplay-wise, this one is more barren than Chernobyl. I think the game has 5 power-ups total. You can drift, but it's not really worth it because the boosting on it is non-existent, and its main gimmick is this weird 2v2 thing. Basically, you choose a partner and you generate boost when you're near them, and then you're supposed to take turns boosting to slingshot each other through the race. This mechanic is actually pretty fun and satisfying, but it's also the only redeeming thing in this game. But you want to know the worst part? A thing so bad it's irredeemable? Ads!
They're my favorite.
This game has more ads than gameplay. There's ads in the menu, ads on the characters, ads on the billboards, on the racetrack. There's a power-up called Your Ad Here. And when you use it, it just makes a big ad bounce around the screen. Like, it's offensive how many ads there are in this. Grow up, NASCAR.
Want a break from the ads?
NASCAR Kart Racing, geez Louise. This game is in a void. It's not good. It's not good. Maybe the problem isn't the games I'm playing. Maybe it's the medium. Not the racing, but the way that I race. I'm tired of just sitting there and holding a controller. I want to swing my arms around and feel insecure if I play it in public. So let's play something that nobody really asked for. Dash Dash World, a VR kart racer. I'm about to puke my guts up just thinking about it. I don't think any human being has ever looked at Mario getting pelted by a blue shell and went, man, I wish I could see what he's seeing. But I can't say that I'm not at least a bit excited, in the same way that a bomb defusal expert is excited to go to work.
I'm gonna die. I wanna die comfortable.
As far as looks and overall vibe go, it kinda suffers the same fate that a lot of VR titles do. And it comes off as unpolished. The characters look like the very generic cartoon MapleStory chibis that we've seen in 1 billion other games, but at least it kinda works here. But now let's talk about the gameplay itself.
I'm curious.
On paper, nothing really separates this title from any other kart racer. You can drift, you can boost, you can use items, and basically nothing is done better, but done well enough to be passable. However, you can roll my face in dough and make monkey biscuits, because my bonobo ass was having a blast playing this in VR. Having to literally look behind you to see where everyone is, and having to physically aim your weapons was so fun. There are two modes of control. The beginner mode, which allows you to play this game like a standard Mario Kart, steering with the joystick and stuff. Then there's the immersive mode, where you actually have to reach out and hold a steering wheel in order to steer. And honestly, the immersive mode is kind of bad. Since you're not physically holding anything, your hands just get lost and it bugs out a lot. Plus, I'm a gamer, okay? I'm frail. After playing the immersive mode for longer than 5 minutes, my shoulders felt like linguine. The beginner mode was just a lot more fun and felt really good. But the part where this game actually shines above every other kart racer is the items. This game has a lot of them, and using them in VR is awesome. Having to literally aim your gun, swing your arm to hit them with a frying pan, throw a grenade in the right spot, it all just feels so satisfying. There's frying pans to whack people, a money gun which obscures the vision of the people you aim at, an Uzi which takes me back to my hometown in Los Angeles, and they're all used in their own specific way. Now here's the part where I have to step out of my bias and actually review this game fairly. I actually really enjoy this game, and it was a very fun time playing it for the video. I would really love to play this game with my friends, but there's one big major problem. I am a VR professional. I have thousands of hours in VR, played a bunch of different titles, and I'm just very used to the format. I can't imagine most people being able to play this game for longer than 2 minutes without needing to revisit their breakfast, if you catch my drift. VR is already nauseating enough as it is, but now you have to drive a cart, aim your weapons, and go through loops. It also only has 14 stages, which kind of stinks, but the background music and overall vibe of this game are so fun that my girlfriend practically begged me to give it a shot when she heard me playing it in the living room. It really does believe in quality over quantity, because you can tell that the devs actually cared about every single one of these stages. It also has a pretty good single player mode, which is great because this game died forever ago. Like, nobody is playing it online anymore, which is kind of sad, I'll be honest. So for VR professionals, I give this game a 7.5 headsets out of 10. But for everyone else, I give it an avoid at all costs and a caution wet floor sign just in case. Dash Dash World is pretty fun, but I don't have anyone to play it with, which makes me incredibly sad. I think it is a game that you should try out if you like VR, but again, it could be in either of these categories depending if you get motion sick. Next up, we got Disney Speedstorm. This is by far the newest game on this list. In fact, the game's not even out yet. It's in early access. I don't want to nitpick the aesthetic too badly here, but I find it weird that they went for this muted, realistic race car driver feel when Disney has the most colorful characters in the world. Like, Mickey Mouse isn't as magical when he looks like he's about to say something political. But aesthetics to the side, I'm actually shocked at how good this game is. It is a very pretty game to look at. Again, Disney is basically the owner of childlike wonder at this point, and they do not shy away from it. Pulling out remixes of famous songs, very inspired stages, and the characters actually have their own voice lines. The drifting, which you can tell I care about at this point, is very, very well done. Whenever you hold a drift, your boost charges, and once it's full, you can use it whenever you want. You could also do that weird double dash side tackle thing with the right analog stick if you want to knock your opponents off the map. And you have a jump to get around the map easier when there's changes in elevation or things to dodge. There's also 3 separate ways to use your power-up. You have your forward shot, your backward shot, and your charge shot, which opens up the game strategically because it really makes you think about how you want to use your items. The gameplay here is genuinely a 10 out of 10, and it's some of the most inspired kart racing I have ever seen in my life. Now, this all may sound a little too good to be true, and that's because it is. Because for some reason, Gameloft decided to make this $30 to $60 game a gacha game. And I don't mean that in the cute way either. You're not rolling for a sexy Mickey Mouse skin, okay? This game is literally pay to win. You have to roll for shards that upgrade your characters, which boost their stats overall. But not just that, it also enhances their power-ups. So if you go against somebody who spent more money than you did, their mushroom power-up will just last longer than yours. Like, how cool is that? I may sound bitter because I am. Do you know how hard it is to make a good kart racer? This game was so close to being a game that I would beg my friends to buy so that we could play it for hours on end, but no, they went the gambling route. I hope this game fails. I hope that it bombs so hard that it never makes it out of early access. And Disney heard me, and my home is foreclosed, and now I'm homeless. Well, when you shoot for the king, you better not miss, huh? The reason why I'm being such a dick is actually backed by evidence. Whenever a shit-ass company releases a game that ends up being way too money-hungry, it can go in 2 separate ways. Number 1, the bad ending, the game dies instantly, never to be heard from again, and only profiting off of the gacha whales who cared. And number 2, the good ending. The company realizes that their audience isn't as stupid as they thought, and eventually succumb to releasing the game in its full glory without bogging it down with a ton of microtransactions. So hopefully this game doesn't do well at all. It's currently at a 77 player peak, so that's all the evidence I need. Hopefully they can release Disney Speedstorm EX with all of the content included, because I would genuinely believe that that game would be in the top 3 kart racers of all time, including the Mario Kart games. If this game bombs and re-releases with everything in it, I will give it a 9.5 Mickey Mouse heads out of 10. But in its current state, I wouldn't even give it 1 mouse ear. Disney Speedstorm. I do want to say that a lot of patches have happened in this game to apparently make the gacha mechanics better, but it does still have a lot of gacha mechanics, so I will leave it in a void. I think that if that game just gets re-released as a full game, it will be 100% in the must-play category. But until the gacha mechanics are dead and gone from the game itself, I'm gonna leave it in a void. Now, we've been through the slimes of Nickelodeon, the royalty-free hills of Garfield, the weird and off-putting racetracks of NASCAR, the world of virtual reality, and of course, the gacha hell of Disney. I've been surprised, shocked, disappointed, and moving so goddamn fast that my meat is about to fall off the goddamn bone. But there's one more kart racer that I absolutely have to talk about. A game that is nearly 11 years old and and blew past every single expectation that I had, even if its title is a bit of a mouthful. Sega in Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed is exactly how you're supposed to take an idea and improve upon it. It controls very well, the characters are charming, the vibe is colorful, and the stages just ooze personality and care. They also didn't try to change their characters at all to fit a vibe, because the reason these games work is because we already love the characters. I don't want to see Sonic in a sports jersey, okay? I want to see him balls out like he always is. But what's really cool is that this game added to the overall Mario Kart formula without making things too muddy. There are sections you have to fly, sections you turn into a boat, and these sections control really well, albeit a little bit differently from the normal kart mode. You can do flips in the air to give yourself a boost, and you could use the right analog stick to decide what kind of flip you want to do. All of this paired with the idea that Sega really cares about their IP makes for a lot of stages that are just an exciting homage to the source material. Like, all of the stages are very well made. I lost my the first time the map turned into Super Monkey Ball. In the Samba Studios level, the buildings are literally dancing to fit the aesthetic of the Samba game. And there are 25 tracks and 5 separate modes to play. Like, I'm just shocked at how good this game is, and I wanted to talk about it because it's easily in my top 3 kart racers ever made. It's that good. I give this game a 9 out of 10.
Well done.
Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed, same as Kirby. I know that Sonic Cross Worlds came out. I even have a video on Sonic Cross Worlds, but I want to do another mashup video with more kart racers and feature both sequels. For now, I think these are both at the top of must play. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale answers Sony's age-old question, what if we did that? For starters, a lot of menus and cutscenes in this game have about as much personality and effort as AI art, which isn't really a make or break for me, but I do find it kind of weird that I have to mute the footage of this game before I get copyright claimed, because the main theme is just one of Madion's songs. And not even a song he made for this game either. It's just one of his songs. This is supposed to be Sony's answer to one of the largest competitors in the world. Not a FIFA game. Oh, wow, this song actually came out in a FIFA game as well. But besides the aesthetic, this game is close. It's so close to being great. And for what it's worth, Baby Scooch actually loved this game when it came out. The roster is a fantastic use of PlayStation's characters, with a blend of insane serial killers like Sweet Tooth and Kratos, but also Parappa and Sackboy. There's some odder choices as well, like Raiden. I guess Snake was busy. And they also used the only bad rendition of Dante that exists. Yeah, I apologize for reminding you that this happened. A very small nitpick, but I always found it kinda weird that Crash Bandicoot or Spyro the Dragon didn't make it into this game. I mean, sure, they weren't owned by Sony, but neither was Heihachi or Big Daddy, so what gives? Also, did you know that Crash Bandicoot was made by the same studio that made The Last of Us? One of these games deals with harsh real-world issues, manipulation, and losing faith in humanity. And then there's The Last of Us. For starters, instead of characters having a traditional attack button and a special button, as most platform fighters do, this game has 3 separate attack buttons, meaning that every single character has an extra button worth of attacks. A lot of characters in this game actually control pretty well, and they play a lot different from each other. Some are combo heavy, some are zoners, and some or both. If you play it for just a few minutes, you could tell that the developers really cared about the game they were making. But here's why it's not great. The major flaw that keeps this game from being a real contender. Instead of this game being about throwing your opponent off the map or tearing through their health bar, the people at Sony wanted to be unique and try something different. Characters don't actually take damage, and instead when you deal damage, you start to build up your super move meter, which you could use at levels 1, 2, or 3. And super moves are the only way you can kill each other, meaning that if you miss your super move, all of that work that you just put in was for nothing. Missing a super move feels about as great as missing a dead relative. And this also creates this terrible standoff situation where players run away from you when you have your super available, or wait until you're comboed by someone else to get a free kill. I mean, 1v1s are still fun, but this game is about as balanced as playing on the seesaw with Butterbean. High-tier characters are so good that they're practically impossible to deal with. And since super moves are all that matter, any character with a semblance of hit stun can basically guarantee a kill every single time. It's just such a weird, intentional choice that I genuinely believe weighs the game down. Like a lot. And it sucks because you can't avoid it. There's no stamina mode, or any other mode for that matter. It just comes with the basic time and stock. And of course, there's an arcade mode with cutscenes that aren't that great. They're just kind of PNGs that bob around, which I think can get a little boring to look at. Still, with all of these issues, I bought this game on release and spent countless hours playing it with my friends. Kratos was of course banned, unless you wanted to get jumped. So I give this game 7.5 PlayStation square buttons out of 10. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. God, it's so weird to say this because it is nowhere near as good as the other games up there. But I do think that everyone has to try out PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale at least once in their life. It is such a weird experience, and I had a lot of fun trying to lab out combos. I'm gonna drop it in pretty fun though because I just remembered how bad the balancing was. It's pretty bad. Next up, we got Dream Mix TV World Fighters, which you've probably never heard of because it only came out in Japan. And if you're watching this video from Japan, another reason why you probably never heard of this game is because it's kind of ass. The game was created by Hudson Soft, which won our trust by making Mario Party, but then immediately punched us in the throat with Sonic Shuffle. The roster features a mix of characters from Hudson, Konami, and Tokara, which at this point were pretty big in their own right. And it's probably the weirdest roster I've ever seen in a fighting game. Hudson featuring characters like Master Higgins from Adventure Island, Ogami from Bloody Roar, and Bomberman from Bomberman. Tokara featuring characters like Megatron from Transformers, Optimus Prime from Transformers, and Tyson from the Beyblade anime? Oh god, I feel like I just got flashbanged. But by far the weirdest set of characters come from Konami, which features Solid Snake 5 years before he ended up in Smash Bros. Brawl. Wow, I guess he really was too busy for PlayStation All-Stars. And Simon Belmont is here? These two have met before? Also, if you beat the game as all 5 Konami characters, you unlock the secret 6th Konami character. And do you want to know which character they chose? It's the freaking Maui head from the background of Gradius. Like, why did they choose that? Now, this game is very basic. The character movesets seem like they were thrown together in 5 minutes by a dev that forgot they were supposed to be making a video game, and it's all just kind of a mess. The special button only does one move, and if you're really lucky, it does the same thing, just in a different direction. And if you're really, really lucky, it does more than one thing, but it just seems to be RNG based on the characters. I genuinely thought my controller was broken when I was playing as Tyson, but it turns out he only has one special move. Oh, sorry, my bad. I mean 3 moves. He could throw his Beyblade, and if you're in the air, he could throw his Beyblade, and if you're on a ledge, he could throw his Beyblade, and that's it. Other characters might have more, like Simon can angle the direction he throws his cross. Snake can satchel charge on the ground and detonate it, but he could also use it in a grab to attach it to the opponent. And my favorite character, Bomberman, can drop a bomb, pick up the bomb with the grab button, and then hold the special button again to create a war crime. But besides that, this game is just way too basic. The big gimmick here is that there's no stocks. Instead, you gotta beat the soul out of your opponent, and if you collect it before they do, you win. It's honestly very awkward and removes the satisfaction from winning. There's no killing blow or big hit. They just lose. And trying to get your soul after it's knocked out of you feels a lot like when someone kicks a ball too far during sports. Like, do we really have to go get it, or can we play something else? Anyways, the game's pretty bad. I give it 3 Gradius Maui heads out of 8. Ooh, wait, new contender, everyone, new contender. Dream Mix TV World Fighters is probably the worst game on the list. It is probably the worst game on the list. Next up, we got an arcade classic, the Outfoxies. And this is by far the oldest game on the list. In fact, this game is the first platform fighter ever made, being released in March of 1995. Yeah, before Smash Bros. So I guess we should title this video The Silly World of Outfoxies Clones? Nah, that's not gonna get views, change it back. Even though this game is older than Google itself, I personally really like the aesthetic here. It's about playing as a hitman, and each stage you're defeating other hitmen following the orders of Mr. Acme, the head honcho in this game. It's also back in that narrative Stone Age where nothing really had a rhyme or reason, so the characters are just random ideas slapped together. Like there's a normal man, a monkey named Dweeb, a girl with her iguana, and 2 children. Not individually, I mean that this character is just 2 kids. This game just oozes personality. When you defeat an enemy in the arcade ladder, each character has a unique way of crossing them out. The kids scribble, the boring guy writes done, the monkey changes the channel, and it's all just really well thought out. Now the gameplay here is a lot more basic than any other game on this list, but that's because it came out in 1995, which as we all know is before Evolution. You have a single attack button and a jump button. Yeah, 2 buttons. That's it, which is the exact same amount of buttons that I have in real life. The like button and the subscribe button. Also, please subscribe if you haven't already. I had to get all of this footage by myself, and playing a party game by yourself at 4 in the morning really makes you start to question your choices in life, so please, do it for me, come on. Now, the main difference between this game and Smash Bros. Is the usage of health bars, which, honestly, thank goodness. I'd rather have a game do something generic and tested versus a game that tries so hard to think outside of the box that it no-clips into a dumpster. The gameplay here is incredibly simple. You just have to kill your opponent before they kill you, but your melee attacks don't really do damage, so you have to rely on items. Whoa. Just like that, huh? Every single competitive Smash player just left the room. The items do have a variation, but honestly, some of them are just way better than others. Like the machine gun does negative damage, while the rocket launcher hits opponents so hard they respawn in the wrong game. The movement tech is a little deep, with the ability to jump up and down platforms, but it all feels a little too janky to execute correctly. The weirdest gimmick about this game, though, is that certain characters just have bonus traits. For example, Professor Ching's wheelchair is just bulletproof from behind. And Eve's iguana actually does things, like one time it brought me a live grenade, which killed me. That's awesome. I decided to beat the arcade mode in this game just so that we could see all of the content, and the stages here are actually really good. They evolve and change, have hazards and interactables, which is honestly very impressive for the time. I believe that this game has some of the best platforming stages I've ever seen in a platform fighter. In this aquarium stage, a bomb goes off, which makes an ornate whale fall down and get impaled by a statue. But that also causes the tanks on the side to rupture, so you have to get to the top floor or you'll be attacked in the new shark-infested water. There's a plane level where the rocket launcher just shakes the entire plane, a weapons factory that actually makes weapons for you to use, and nearly every stage in this game would hold up in any platform fighter that exists today. The last boss in this game actually just stinks though. You go to Mr. Acme's mansion to get your payment for killing all of those hitmen, and then you have to do a stupid Looney Tunes chase through a mansion that requires precise movement. You run away from dogs, awkwardly have to unbarricade a door while he pulls a lever and blasts you into a shark tank like it's a Tom and Jerry episode, and then you come face to face with Mr. Acme himself, which is now revealed to be a woman. You see, this game was made in the 90s, so a woman in charge is the big twist. They run away, take an elevator to the rooftop and get in a helicopter, and after hitting them with a rocket launcher a few times, the guy falls out of the helicopter and is crushed to death by his thick wife, which is exactly how I'm trying to die. And just like that, we beat the game. This one doesn't control too well, and the combat is incredibly basic. But for an arcade game, I still really like it. Maybe it's the aesthetic, or the stages, or the genuine care put into every single sprite in this game. I don't know, but I'm gonna give it 7 broken television sets out of 10. Also, when the kids die in this game, their faces explode and they bleed out, and that's weird, right? That's weird. The Outfoxies is gonna go in a void. I would put it in Cousin Slot, but that wouldn't make sense because it is an arcade game. I think that it is better than every other game in the avoid list. And I genuinely believe that if you ever see this out in the wild, you should at least put in a quarter and try it out for 1 or 2 stocks, because it is such a weird experience and the level design is so fun. But beyond that, probably don't play it. Next up, we got Omia Blade Warriors for the PlayStation 2. My friend actually rented this game when we were kids, and we thought it was the best thing ever. So like every other old video game, I'm sure this one is gonna hold up. Out of every game on the list, I think this one tries the hardest to be a traditional fighting game, sporting a ton of mechanics like parrying, combos, super moves, critical attacks, and even a stamina bar. Unfortunately though, it does every single mechanic poorly and then punctuates its bad decisions with worse decisions. There's a famous saying that states if you chase 2 hares, you're not gonna catch either. But this game is chasing more hares than a goddamn barbershop, am I right? There's health bars, which I'm happy about because you're not forced to do something silly in order to win. But the combat in this game is like a huge swimming pool with only an inch of water in it. Like diving in could have been fun, but now your friend is down 20 IQ points and on his way to the hospital. You get your standard attack button and a special button, but every character basically plays the same. For the attack button, they all have a single combo, an uppercut which you can't follow up with anything, and a sweep which knocks your opponent down. For the special button, there's a standard kick, a disarm, and 3 elemental soul moves, which sounds really cool. You can also block, time your block to parry, and if you attack in the exact millisecond before they hit you, you do a critical counter. Now here's why all of that stuff doesn't matter, because nothing really does anything. For example, there's a low attack, but the block button blocks everything. There's an uppercut, but you can't follow it up with any of the characters. And besides a slight change in animation, everyone's combo functions the exact same. The disarm knocks your opponent's sword out of their hand, and then they just pull out another one? What does it do? It's a disarm that knocks their weapon away, but he just gets another one. And the kick is good to use if your opponent is blocking, but it just pushes them far away so you can't do anything with it. Building distance doesn't really matter, and I know that the game is a platform fighter, but I never found out why. The platforms don't really serve a purpose here besides trying to capitalize on the success of Smash Bros. And sure, some stages have hazards, but they hurt about as much as a sore throat. You can knock your opponent away, but there's no ring outs, so you still have to get back to them to deal damage. It feels a lot like playing catch by yourself. But now let's talk about the special moves, and by far the worst part of this game. Each character has 3 special elemental soul moves that are really strong and somewhat unique per character, but you can only use them once every time you find that specific elemental soul, which are basically these things that spawn out of random chests. I've played entire matches where I didn't find a single one, and I've played matches where I found multiple, and it's just such a silly choice to hide something that's so important to the gameplay behind a randomized item spawn. Imagine if every single time you used Dr. Mario's pill attack in Smash Bros, you had to call a pharmacy to see if it was in stock. It makes the game so much more basic because your special move button is practically disabled 90% of the game. And in turn, this creates an awful situation where the majority of the time that you're playing, you're kind of awkwardly running away from each other and trying to find souls and items. But to make matters a little bit worse, picking up the souls is the worst part. You have to hold the circle button to absorb the soul. And if 2 players are holding the button, it becomes this awkward tug of war where the winner is kind of selected at random. If you just run away from opponents and hold the button, chances are you'll always win when a soul spawns because they'll be stuck in each other's attack animations long enough for you to yoink it. Also, when you're the one attacking, you can be hit by a critical counter, which hurts way more than anything else in the game. So being on the offensive is a bad decision, and the AI knows that, so all they do is run away from you and find items and souls. But you want to know the funniest part about this game? The items are just so creative and feel like they were made for a platform fighter. For example, we have a beam rifle, a fan, a magic wand that makes stars come out, a cartoony, oversized hammer, and who can forget a home run bat? Something is telling me that if these items were put into a different platform fighter, one that has ring out mechanics and over-the-top characters that could match the aesthetic, it would probably be a pretty good game. But that's just a theory. I give this game 3 elemental souls out of 12. Omia Blade Warriors, Cousin Slop. Don't have much to say about that one, Cousin Slop. Man, I really wish that there was a different company that tried to make a platform fighter. Maybe a company that makes, I don't know, popular children's cartoon shows? Oh my god, not that one. Yeah, believe it or not, Cartoon Network actually tried to make their own Smash clone back in 2011. And it kind of flew under the radar because much like a solar eclipse, it hurts to look at it. Punchtime Explosion actually uses the Cartoon Network IP, but it's just so uncanny because of the art style. The roster features stars like Powerpuff Girls, Flapjack, Johnny Bravo, and even Captain Planet. And you'd think allowing them to use cartoon characters that are made to be robust, vibrant, and loud would be perfect for something like this. But this game is somehow the most lifeless of the bunch. Everything is just so buggy and slow. The characters look like Cartoon Network stars, but there's almost nothing that makes their attacks personal. They're just modeled to look like them, and it's just off. Like if you saw this in a dark alley, you're telling me you wouldn't call the police? I want to talk about branding for a second because I feel like it's really important to my point. Pikachu is an electric rat. So in the original Smash Bros, he ran around super fast, threw an electric ball that conducted itself on the floor, called down lightning, and even used a quick attack from the games. Besides that, he hits opponents with his tail or even headbutts them with his tiny little head. And basically, even if you completely blacked this character out, you would still be able to instantly recognize that that's Pikachu. In Punchtime Explosion, there's none of that. They all just awkwardly punch and kick each other, but it doesn't look like anyone wants to be there. It feels like a bar fight in a rich suburb. And their special moves aren't much different. I don't think the voice lines were specifically recorded for this game either, and instead they just grabbed random clips from the cartoons. Like listen to Flapjack's death sound. What the hell was that? There's actual stocks and a percentage counter in this game, making it almost a 1-for-1 attempt at Smash Bros. There's also a special meter you build for your Punchtime Explosion super move, which adds a little bit of depth, but it's okay. The whole game is just very low effort, like the people making it expected for their IP to carry them and didn't actually try. The percentages are just in straight up yellow Arial font. And I can't even tell if these percentages mean anything because I've hit characters at 200 that didn't move, and I hit characters at 50 that went flying. They at least tried to do a side-scrolling adventure-esque story mode, which I found to be pretty cool, but it's super repetitive and loses its value very fast. There's other modes too, like Punchtime Explosion mode, where you're competing to see who gets the most points in their special meter, and there's drone modes, where they spawn little enemies during the fight and you have to kill them for points. This one is about as fun as cleaning your house. I give the game credit for trying to rip off Smash Bros all the way down to the percentages, but I almost wish it didn't. Not trying to find your own unique gimmick make the problems in the game that much more apparent. Like, I'm not gonna challenge Mr. Olympia to a bodybuilding contest. That's his whole jam. Let's play rock, paper, scissors or something. There is zero reason to play this game over Smash Bros, and how did you mess this up? You already stole the core gameplay, just steal the rest of it. Put Pikachu in there. What's Nintendo gonna do, sue you?
Yeah, they got me. I'm homeless.
Punchtime Explosion XL is going to go at the top of who made this. Very soulless, very not good game. Can't believe that they used something as powerful as Cartoon Network and made it that bad. 100% a bag collecting game. They just wanted to make their money. Finally, it's time for our last game on the list. Nickelodeon Allstars Brawl 2. I mean, if one children's cartoon company can't succeed, it doesn't mean that another one can't, right? Nickelodeon Allstars Brawl 2 is shocking. In our last video about Mario Kart clones, their kart racer was subpar to say the least. So my expectations were below sea level, like D at best. And after playing Nick Allstars Brawl 2 for the sake of this video, I still can't really believe what I just played. Allstars Brawl 2 is really good. This game is a perfect example of how you're supposed to take inspiration from one game and make your own. For starters, the roster in this game doesn't miss. They hit almost every single major Nick series here without overcrowding. And they even have some random characters that you wouldn't really expect. Like Ember from Danny Phantom, my first cartoon crush. But besides that, I really want to point to the aesthetic of this game because that's what surprised me the most. Every character is stylized to look like they're part of of this universe. But they also managed to completely keep their personalities intact, with wonky facial expressions, exaggerated movements, and personality behind every animation. SpongeBob uses his karate gloves, his flying spatula, anchor arms, the imagination rainbow, and the reef blower from the earlier episodes. Garfield eats food, has word bubbles, and can transform into old Garfield, because ew. And Reptar hides behind a building when he blocks. This is the exact level of branding I was talking about when I mentioned Pikachu earlier. Even if you don't like platform fighters, this game is such a great use of the IP that you'll have fun just trying to remember what episodes which move is based on. But besides the animation, the gameplay is inspired enough to feel similar, but different enough to add a ton of variance. There are 3 separate buttons here: your attack button, your special button, and your charge attack button. That last one may sound redundant until you realize that this means you can charge your smash attacks in the air, which is a game changer. The one thing that can't be understated about this game though is how good the impact feels. In a platform fighter especially, you want your attacks to feel like you're giving your opponent a concussion in real life, and landing a solid blow in this game gives you that exact response. The "oh my god, that blow was nasty, I may actually have to serve prison time" feeling. But the most insane thing about this game is that they added an entirely new mechanic called the slime meter, which gave me war flashbacks because that's what they called it in the bad kart racer. But it's actually done really well here. A slime allows you to empower all of your moves, stop your aerial momentum if you're about to die, cancel out of attacks to create new combos, and even do a signature special. This sounds like it may be overkill or too complicated, but no. This mechanic fits into a platform fighter perfectly and adds a whole new layer of depth when you're trying to outplay your opponent. This one mechanic essentially doubles the amount of special moves that every single character has. And they're not just lazy more damage modifications either. SpongeBob's bubble attack becomes 3 bubbles, which give him more coverage. SpongeBob's patty flip move becomes a fire attack, which applies damage over time. And it's just almost too good to be true. I feel like I dreamt it. Also, the single player campaign mode is just a roguelike, a full-blown roguelike with random pickups, overworld progression, and a completely voice-acted story. Nickelodeon, were you reading my diary? How did you know? This game wasn't supposed to be this good. The first Nick Allstars Brawl came out an awkward and sloppy mess. It had 0 voice acting, so every fight felt like a serious moment in a shonen anime where they cut off all the music and you just hear the fists smashing into skin. And I'm just stunned at how much they improved this time around. Though Nick Allstars Brawl 2 isn't as good as a Smash Bros title, it's so darn close that the cease and desist are already on their way.
Ah, damn it, they got me again.
Allstars Brawl 2, must-play game, very, very, very good. If that company can just get their hands on a better IP, I think that they have a shot in creating an actually valuable Smash clone. But for now, Nickelodeon, I think, is just in this weird intersection of too funny to be taken serious, yet big enough to collect enough sales for them to make another one. Battle Stadium DON is a platform fighter that features Dragon Ball, One Piece, and Naruto, 3 of the largest animes ever. It was released in 2006, and somehow all 3 of these animes are still alive and thriving today. Am I right, guys? Yeah! Kill me! I actually played this game a lot as a kid, and back then, I loved it. Obviously, as a snot-nosed child, the mere concept of being able to play Goku versus Naruto or Kakashi versus Mid was genuinely enough to consume my life, even though I cannot read Japanese. The gameplay in this one is very unique, but not entirely for the right reasons. There's your basic melee attack button, your special button, which costs meter, your super button, which you can only use when you have a lot of meter, a grab button, and a shield. Conceptually, it's not too bad on paper. Meter in a platform fighter is kind of a fun idea. Unfortunately though, this game features one of the worst platform fighter mechanics that I have ever seen. The tug of war health bar. Hitting opponents makes them drop orbs and lowers their percentage on the bar at the top of the screen. Once you collect enough orbs to have a large enough majority percentage in this big ass bar, you go demon mode and have access to an enhanced super move. Then all you have to do is knock every other opponent down to 0, and just like that, you win. This system was featured in Dream Mix TV World Fighters that we covered in our last Smash clone video. Just like in that game, in this game, it is complete ass. It's very awkward to have to track down the one character that still has health while the others are alive. And when you win, it doesn't really feel satisfying because they don't fall over or get knocked off the stage. The match just ends. The demon mode mechanic is kind of cool though. Goku's normal tiny spirit bomb turns into a massive nuke that takes up half the screen, and I just think that that's kind of awesome. The characters all feel different, but some are clearly better than others. Naruto characters are incredibly limited and have pretty bad hitboxes. Meanwhile, Luffy's goofy ass can hit anyone all the time because that boy is stretchy. Last thing to mention here, unlocking characters in this game is incredibly annoying. You have to play the single player arcade mode and successfully complete a random mission objective, which again, I can never read because I don't speak Japanese. And if you get lucky and complete the objective, you get slot machine tokens which you can use after completing the arcade ladder. If you're lucky, you can unlock a character, and if you're not, you don't. Awesome, man. So in order to be fair, I'm gonna give this game a rating of... Ooh, a 7. That's not bad. Battle Stadium DON. I'm gonna put this at the top of a void. It is not that good. It doesn't matter how much Luffy and Dragon Ball Z and Naruto are in it. The game kind of stinks. The next game is going to break all of the rules of this video, because technically speaking, it's not a Smash clone at all. In fact, this game came out before Smash Bros. And is the second platform fighting game ever made, after the Outfoxies, which we talked about the last time we did this. Savage Rain is a platform fighter that I can only describe as a lot of good ideas not working together at all. It's a standard arcade fighting game released in 1995. For the most part, it functions closer to Street Fighter than anything else, save for the usage of 2 different lanes you can stand in. There are 4 buttons used in this game: your punch button, your kick button, your weapon button, and of course, your jump into the background button. You see, that's a platform. This counts. The 10 available characters all play slightly different from one another, and they even have their own unique stages as well, which is always a nice touch in arcade fighters. But now that I've buttered you up, I think it's time for me to tell you the news. Are you sitting down? Good. The Japanese name for this game is Fuun Mokushiroku Kakuto. Fuun Mokushiroku. Fuun Mokoshiroku Kakotu Sosei, which is crazy because this game isn't Fuun at all. The ideas are there, but they never come together, and they're trying to do so many different things at the same time that no one aspect of this game is done well. The fighting is bland. The 2-lane combat serves as a way to run from your opponent, but why would you ever want to do that in a 1v1 fighting game anyway? Bro, we're fighting. Every character has their own unique weapon, which you can throw to hit opponents from a distance or use to hit back your opponent's projectiles, and they all have their own special moves, which can range from somewhat overpowered to entirely useless. The best part, though, is that the special move inputs in this game I'm not bad at fighting games, okay? I'm blue rank in Tekken. I got there with a 51 game win streak, but these inputs just aren't feasible. Imagine playing an arcade game against a person that is trying to actively hit you with anything. And you have to hit forward, half circle back, forward, punch. Oh, okay, that's not too bad. You're different. Cool. How about forward, half circle down, up, punch plus weapon. Is that input too easy for you? Alright, wow, I didn't know we had an FGC celebrity in the building. But how about this one? To the untrained eye, it looks easy. Quarter circle back, neutral, quarter circle forward, diagonal up forward, punch. But when you look closer, that's not a quarter circle. It's a 1/3 circle. 1/3? Bitch, I haven't done trigonometry since the early 2000s. I ain't starting again. But all of this would be an easier burden to bear if the game didn't also commit the ultimate sin in arcade fighters. The sin of input reading, where the CPU can perfectly dodge your attack the exact frame that you pressed your button just because it decided to be an asshole. And the CPU can also put in any of its special moves instantaneously whenever it wants. So you're basically going against the godliest gamer in history using hacks while pulling out your protractor to make sure you get 1/3 a circle and don't accidentally hit 1/4 a circle, because if you do hit 1/4 a circle, you're just gonna have to stand there while Joker tears your ass in twain. And not the good Joker either. Or Jared Leto's. Speaking of circle back, I'm going to give this game a full circle back to the time that I didn't spend $8 on it, because it cost me $8. 2 out of 10. Next, Savage Rain. I'm gonna put it next to Outfoxies for the same exact reason I said for the Outfoxies one. If Battle Stadium DON couldn't succeed by parading around the faces of massive intellectual properties, then maybe that wasn't the correct move. Maybe instead of using instantly recognizable mascots that everyone and their mother could define in an instant, it would be better to use the exact opposite. Indie game characters that not a lot of people know about. Yeah, okay, maybe it just sounds dumb when I say it. Fraymakers is a platform fighter. It is just a platform fighter. The game is in early access, so it's currently as bare bones as it gets. There's no single player mode, no challenges, a very small roster size, and not a ton of stages either. But the pieces that are done are kinda decent. The buttons are standard for the most part. Your basic attack button, your special button, a jump button, and a block button. But what this game tries to do differently is the assist button, which allows you to call in an assist specific move from a larger roster of indie game references. It gives you a little more control over defining your playstyle, but due to the current incredibly limited roster of the game, there isn't too much variation, or at least that's what I would be saying if this game didn't have a Steam Workshop enabled where people can create their own unique characters and movesets alongside custom assists and stages as well, which is something that I heard Rivals of Aether 1 did, but I never played that game. So we're gonna talk about this one. Fraymakers not only allows the creation and usage of custom content, but they promote it. And personally, I think that that's kind of awesome. It's like Mugen, but a Smash Bros version. Once I learned this, I actually had a pretty decent amount of fun with this game, trying to synergize with the assists or just laughing my ass off whenever Gibby from iCarly fell from the heavens mid-combo. Seeing the footage still fucks me up. Ooh, I got him. I landed a Gibby. That's actually all I wanted. I could end this happy. Getting zoned out by Kirby with Walter White assist was annoying, but not as bad as when Commander Video went Mario pissing assist and took this match home. Custom content is awesome, and honestly opens this game up to limitless possibilities. Unfortunately though, I can't really give the game too much points for allowing other people to make it good, especially when the actual content in the game is so sparse to begin with. I said this already, but there isn't a single player mode at all, and the roster I think is only 6 characters right now. Even more unfortunate, this game is in early access, yet somehow completely dead. I couldn't find another single player online no matter what time I tried. That's not really a good sign for an early access title, but who knows? It seems like the devs really care about this game, so I hope it climbs its way out, but if it doesn't, at least I got to pull off a Gibby assist combo once in my life. If I knock someone into the air, and then Gibby assist them from here, I Gibby assisted that guy to death, that was sick. So I'm gonna give this game 4 Gibbies out of 8. Fraymakers, I'm gonna put it at the very bottom of pretty fun, just because it's not done yet, and I think once it's fully fleshed out and there's a lot of user-generated content, it will be a very good game to play with your friends. So I'm gonna just put it here for good faith. In good faith, I'll put it in pretty fun. Next up, we have Indie Pogo. Normally, when writing these videos, I try to build into my opinions, you know, kind of keep you at the edge of your seat, but this game is not good. The whole gimmick of this title is that you can't stop jumping. Platform fighter games are all about positioning yourself correctly and dealing damage by spacing based on your character's strengths and weaknesses. But this game just removes your ability to control the most important aspect of movement in this genre. I figured when I first learned about this mechanic in the awkward tutorial, which I will talk about in a second, that it would eventually fold in on itself and offer satisfying gameplay by creating movesets built around the auto jump. Maybe a lot of diagonal attacks or larger hitboxes to compensate for the lack of overall control. But the characters all feel pretty standard for a platform fighter, minus half the moves because there isn't really a grounded set of attacks. So it just comes off as playing Smash Bros with a broken controller. Alongside your air dodges, directional inputs, melee button, and special button, there's also a parkour button which lets you stick to walls or roll around on the floor, and a super move button which you can use after you build enough meter by comboing opponents. The thing that feels the worst about this game is that you can tell that there was a lot of love put in. The vibe in the menus and different parts of this game all feel cohesive. There's multiple single player modes, a versus mode, and of course, an online mode with no active players. I originally believed that this was due to the game being from 2016, but the all-time peak for this game was 105 players, so it never really got wind underneath its sails, or sales in general, because it didn't do that good. And I can't say that I don't understand it either, because the gimmick feels so bad. Like, it almost feels like they ham-fisted it in 5 seconds before release just to force some uniqueness into the title. And I could say with my whole chest that this gimmick is the only reason I never want to open this game again. But to add insult to injury, the tutorial you get when you first open the game is a self-insert and poorly made drag, where the developer calls himself your new favorite developer ever, and also says that the Pogo mechanic is actually genius, and that you should go and compliment them on Twitter? This would be like me cooking you a meal at a restaurant, giving you food poisoning, and as you're puking in the bathroom, I show up to your house and ask for a tip. There is one thing I genuinely did love about this game though. You can die by either getting knocked off the map or by just losing all of your health. This combination isn't really something I've seen anywhere, and surprisingly, it works really well. It'd be cool to see a platform fighter incorporate multiple ways to kill your opponent, and maybe one day one of them will be great, but definitely not this one. So I'm gonna give this game a 1 to 3 out of 10, because the score is also pogoing. Indie Pogo, my god, this game is gonna be close to the bottom of the list. Is Indie Pogo worse than Dream Mix TV World Fighters? It might be worse. God, I cannot explain to you how bad it is to play a Smash Bros game where you cannot control your jumping ability. It just feels like you have a broken controller. It might be the worst one. Now, this next game on the list is probably the one that most people wanted me to talk about, Multiversus, which tragically put out an update a few days ago saying that Season 5 would be the last official season, and that the game would be taken offline in the next few weeks. Also, my cat broke my camera, so for the rest of the video, I'm a PNG. I know, tragic. Strangely enough, I never really played this game until after the announcement, because if I'm being honest, it didn't really look that appealing to me. Everything looked floaty, the mechanics seemed confusing as a spectator, and even if I wanted to play, it ended up going offline for a couple of months during the apex of its popularity, only to apparently come back worse? From my very casual perspective, I can now say in a few hours of playing this game that I don't really like it in the state that it's in. Without even talking about the gameplay itself, there is more not game in this game than there is actual game. Menus that lead you to unlocks, microtransactions, skins to purchase, a PvE mode where you have to fight through challenges to win prizes, but you only get a few attempts per day, which is hilariously awful. Apparently, in an earlier rendition of this game, you'd be charged up to $10 to refill your lives. I've always heard about microtransactions being pretty ridiculous in this game, but very rarely do I see a game that is more microtransaction than game itself. Unlocking the characters is tedious. You have daily missions, weekly missions, enter the arena missions, fucking shaggy missions, rifts, bonus rifts, and a ton of other stuff that made me feel like I was having a stroke. The worst part of all, though, is that it is just a platform fighter. If this were an RPG, a gacha game, a MOBA, a battle royale, or anything of that caliber, some of these screens would actually make a lot more sense. But it's not. It's literally only a platform fighter. But now let's talk about the gameplay itself, because it honestly doesn't feel too bad. It is very much an acquired taste, and some moves come out so slowly that it feels like your ping is constantly jumping between 9 ms and 9000 ms, but it's still kind of fun. Combos are satisfying, chaining attacks feels great, and from the few characters I was actually able to play, they all seem to have a deep enough moveset. Still, it's very hard to look past everything else. Like, I'm not even gonna talk about the perk system because that was so complicated that I think I would need to write an entire thesis paper on it, and even if it were good, it's still very hard to look past everything else. I take no joy in saying that this game deserves to fail in its current state, but it feels like they took a really great video game concept and then saw how much they could use it to blindly rob their players. It feels even worse knowing that Warner Bros. Is probably the only company that had enough intellectual property to actually compete with Smash Bros. Someday. It's crazy to see how mismanagement and aggressive monetization can drag down even the most surefire games, because for a while, a lot of people thought that Multiversus was gonna be it. But now, that's just it for Multiversus. Ooh! Those are bars. I hope this game serves as an example of what happens when you take a good idea and then bury all of the things that would make it great behind microtransactions. I'm gonna give this game the corner of a 5 out of 9. Not the whole 5 though, because you have to pay for the rest of it. Multiversus, eesh. I'm gonna just put it in a void because you physically cannot play this game if you tried. So yeah, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Now, the last game I wanted to talk about is my favorite game on this list, and it's also the most unique for a variety of reasons. The first being that it's single player. Yeah, a single-player platform fighter. What is he, schizophrenic? Spiritfall is a single-player platform fighter roguelite, which sounds very strange on paper, but when I say that this formula works, I mean it works. For starters, you have a few different buttons at your disposal. You have an attack button, a launcher button, a bolt button, a special button, and instead of blocking in this game, you get a directional dash that you can use every few seconds. And before you ask, Yes, you can wave dash. Look, Mom, I'm doing a Smash Brothers. Instead of having a roster, this game features one protagonist with 5 separate weapons to choose from, all with their own unique combo strings, playstyles, and ways to approach every single situation. And boy, is there a lot of situations. Enemies that only fly and shoot you from afar, bosses that try to face you in 1v1 combat or just outright jump you to skew the numbers to their advantage. Hell, there's even mini-bosses in this game that function primarily like an actual platform fighter, meaning they can only be killed by being knocked off the stage. This is arguably enough to make this a pretty badass platform fighter alone, but since it's a roguelike, the main selling point is the variety of builds you can get in your run. Essentially, every skill can be evolved by an elemental god, which changes the properties of the abilities being used. Your bolt goes from being a boring little arrow to a jumping slash you can use mid-combo. Your special goes from being nothing, because it starts as nothing, to becoming a lightning smash you can combo like Pikachu in Smash Bros. Ultimate. Your dash, which is essentially just a way to maneuver yourself when the run starts, can become a blink that deals damage, or a fire attack which can evolve your combo strings. And if that's not complicated enough, there's also combinations of abilities you can get to evolve each other, much like the duo boon system from Hades. When I first played this game in early access, there were only 4 weapons. Now, for the main roster of this game, there are 5 weapons, but you can unlock a bonus form for every single one of them, meaning there are 10 very unique movesets that you can play. If you're just someone who wants to play a platform fighter alone, yet somehow have every single second feel like it belongs in some highlight reel, Spiritfall is your game. I think the only downside I could say about this one is that it's definitely on the lighter side when it comes to content. If you're okay at platform fighters and roguelikes, you can probably get through all of the content in about 8 to 10 hours. But still, this is one of the roguelikes I can see myself picking up randomly, just to see what kind of insane combos I can map out in my brain and execute when it matters. I give this game 8 Spiritfalls out of 9. Spiritfall goes above Nick Allstars Brawl 2 in must play. Very phenomenal roguelike. Absolutely had a blast playing it. It's very fun. And there you have it, my final tier list in my Mario spin-off clones. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I have another one cooking right now where I will talk about the sequels of specific games. But until then, thank you for watching. I'm gonna go play some more clones. I'll see you in the next one. Adios, bye-bye.